This video is part of the Active Trader Setups Tutoring and Reference series. Today we're going to be looking at the ATS Chart Trader functionality and how it interacts with the bars on the chart. And please be aware and watch the other videos understanding the formation of the ATS Ichimoku Bar that the chart trader is designed to trade with. And then you'll learn about trading multiple bar settings, entering on one bar size and running your stops on a different bar size, as well as the ability of the chart trader to be used with some other bar types. This video's primary purpose is to show you the bar formations as they form, and if you're implementing the chart trader, how it's going to react to the bars that you're currently around. First of all, we're just going to take a glance at a couple of charts that could give you an idea of how you would use the chart trader. This is a chart on PXD. This is a live chart. And the setup it gave this morning off of the multi-day cloud. Now these inflection points you'll learn about in other videos, and our fast cloud and slower clouds for support and resistance. But as this is early morning, 9:40 a.m., as this stock broke up and pulled back to this area, it's on an inflection point from yesterday, and the cloud was setting up flat and trying to cross over out on it. Already crossed over right out here, so it indicated the stock was in a bullish setup. And it's a little flag pattern basically that's pulled back to these levels. Now it went through the levels, of course. You can see the wick's lower. But using the bar chart trader, you can anticipate the reversal here. And I'm going to switch to another intraday chart on the same place it was. These lines are drawn from different settings. They go back about a 48-hour period and give you a lot of congestion went on right in there. But the main thing I want to look at is right here on this reversal. First of all, when it gave the reversal, this second bar had a 5-bar high on volume, even though you can't see it very well because of this big volume bar back here. But there was a 5-bar high volume right here, the first bar up as it broke through. Now, if you set the bar chart trader complete view, if you set the bar chart trader buttons on to do a long trail, it would have set the order along right in here. It is set to, it will flip the bars basically at the high of the second red bar behind you within a penny or two. And if you're using a smaller bar setting like the one over here on the left, it would do it quicker, of course. But that's how the chart works. You look for this kind of setup and you tell yourself, okay, I like the setup. I like everything I see. If it reverses, I want to be long. You press the long trail button and it will place the order right on the chart, show you where it's going to be at, give you the price. And the other function is to wait a bar. And that's when you use the stable long, and we'll explain that more in the video. So that's the kind of setup you're looking for, and that's how you would implement using the bar. I've switched over to an Apple chart. This is early morning price action. This is 9:35 to show you the difference in the stable. If you were watching this for the reversal, you were watching this bar form, or even if you watch the next bar open and you see many of the bars have no wicks out the bottom. This one being in this congested area, being early in the morning, created a wick out the bottom. So this is where, if you were watching this setup, trying to decide if you want to take the trade, and you wanted to wait till it cleared this inflection point. This is an intersession inflection point. So this was from action from late day on Friday. This is a Monday chart. If you selected this stable long here, it would wait until a bar closes and the next bar opens and the previous bar had no wick. So if you're in the middle of this bar, you know it's not going to take you long because it already has a wick formed on it. Now keep in mind, when this bar opened, it had no wick. As it developed, it created this wick. So after the wick was forming, if you decided you wanted to go long, but you didn't want to go long immediately, because if you had a long trail, that would have placed your order almost where that line is. You decided you wanted to wait another bar to get out of the congestion. That's what the stable long is for. You place it on stable long, implement the button, implement your stops, and it would wait until this bar closed and this bar opened, which would be at the high of that bar. It would close and create this next bar. So that's the difference in the two type of entries. Now, the Apple was such a good setup as well, because on the daily chart, it was already in a good uptrend, a nice positive bullish short-term cloud, and it pulled back and was riding this level of this cloud over here. That's what that yellow dotted line represents. These are the exact same candles we were just looking at, but we're on a different chart. I'm going to glance at one more chart where I can show you again what you might be looking at. This is ALXN, had broke out early. These first few candles were in the first 30 seconds of the morning. Then it went sideways for 20 minutes. So this bar did form, and it created a reversal bar and opened the next bar, and it did trigger below this low of this bar. You can see that the low of that bar and the low of that wick are about the same, and that's when this next bar got created. But it didn't follow through to the downside. Also, it's still above the blue dotted line, which represents this cloud out to the right. So it's still a bullish chart. It's just consolidating and chopping in this early morning time frame. So as you're watching this stock create all these wicky bars, that's another case. If you placed a long trail, I'm going to go back to the other chart. If you placed a long trail at the time, it would have placed it right above these bars by just a few cents, depending on your settings. Or you could say, I want a stable long. I don't want the first bar up. I want to make sure that a bar with no wick out the bottom closes before I get in. That's another example of when you would choose the stable long as your option. Now that's unique to our bar. The stable long would never work on any other bar type. So that's three different examples of how some of the candles you might face. Now also notice this particular chart. These lines are drawn on the inflection videos. You learn about these, but the orange lines are the older lines. The three white lines are the most recent lines. So all of these orange lines were created. This is the intra-session inflection points in the last 24 to 48 hours of trading. And you can see here was one of those levels that was being tested during this bullish formation on the cloud, and it's holding this line, which gives you more confidence in taking that long trade. You just want to get out of the chop before you get involved, and that's why you would use the stable long for that entry. Now, if you're not actually trading on NinjaTrader with a licensed copy and connected to your broker with the bars, you can still use our Bar Chart Trader. Use the free version of NinjaTrader, and when you press the long trail bar, it will show you the buy price to the penny on the chart. The stable long will not show you that price, but it will be about half the value of your bars. So if we're on a 25 factor chart, a 25 algo brick, then it's going to be, these form about every 12 cents. And you'll learn more about that in the video on the formation of the bar. But you know, as you learn, that if you put the long trail on the chart and you get the price, that it's going to be, in this case, a 25-cent bar. It's going to be 12 or 13 cent higher when the stable long triggers, and you know where to put your order entry on that as well. So let's move into the other mode. We're going to switch over to simulated mode so that I can recreate these type candlesticks and then show you how the bar chart trader actually works. I'm going to switch us over to simulated data in just a moment. I've gone to some different, basically the same charts, but I want to show you this interaction between two different size bars. This is 25, this is a 10. As this chart pulled back right here at 11:45 is when this bar closed and created this other bar, so it was right after 11:40, between 11:40 and 11:45. This made a low right on this area, this 115.88. The actual low of that bar was 115.86, 2 cents below our inflection. Now, I want you to understand where this inflection came from. This is a intraday cloud and intraday sessions. This is running off a 2-hour bar. It's going back, so it's 11:40 in the morning. But the way these lines work is your dashed line is your most recent. The next dashed line is the next most recent, and the solid white line is the third most recent. So this is going back. This is the last 2-hour bar. This blue is the current developing white line for the current 2-hour bar. So these two bars pretty much represent what's going on in today's session. This was toward the end of the previous day's session, and this was 2 hours prior to that. So this is where the action took place, where our program on our ATS inflection points placed this plot on the chart as a likely inflection point when you come to it. Now you can see that earlier in the morning when it came to it, it might have been this dash color at that time. It ran right through and didn't slow down. But it did, and it wouldn't have reversed you if you'd have had an order there, because it never made a reversal bar. But right here you had this pullback, and the part I wanted to show you was it got right to this line. This was at around 11:45. Right here is where this choppiness was going on, that was in the middle of these two bars right here, as it came down and settled in on this line, which was 4 cents different than that line. This is a daily inflection point. So this went back to the previous day, the entire day. This was the inflection point we created. So that was a very strong, likely bounce spot, and we're in this big cloud, and as long as this cloud has the blue part way up here above us, it's likely not to completely collapse at this point. So that's why it held there. It's very choppy, and again, your cloud areas are congestion areas and resistance areas. But you could take a trade from this little 10 bar and be in this trade by 1607, where if you use the bar chart trader off this bar, it wouldn't have put you in the trade to 1642. So you can trade faster if you're a scalper. You can do it off the smaller bar, off these inflection points, with the same exact stop as you'd have had way over here, because it's going to be running off of 2 bars back on a trailing stop. Or you can set your stops for a number of cents. But I just wanted to show that part. We're going to switch to simulation. Okay, we're now in the simulation mode, still using the same charts. I want to first say that when you see this is in the afternoon on the 17th is what it's showing, but the reason we're in simulation is so that I can recreate the bars like this and show you what the chart trader does when it's activated. So first we're going to look at the settings in the chart trader itself. You can customize our bar chart trader about any way you want to, and I'm going to show you some of the settings. We have another video on actually customizing the bar chart trader for yourself, but you have time settings. You can set the time of day will allow a trade, and if you set this to 9:40 a.m. and you click buy a long trail at 9:34, it's not buying. It will override your if you set it at 9:40 because you know it's not advisable for you to trade before then, and you try to jump in a trade, it's not going to let you. You can still buy manually, but the bar chart trader will not send that order. You can set your stops to trail a bar. You can name the button anything you want to name it, or you have a hard stop option. If you want to say I want to be at the low of 2 bars ago, 1 tick below, that's 1 cent on a stock, and of course it's depends on the tick size on the futures. But you can set this trail stop, or it's not a trail stop. You can set this bar stop based on that, or you can go down and use a hard stop and select to use my hard stop rather than it'll override the bar stop, and you set it exactly how many ticks you want it. You have the ability to have 2 different trailing stops, and these are just the default settings, how many bars back to look, and you can name those bars anything you want to. When you change the name here, it changes it right up here, and it also changes your button on your chart. And then you set your entries for your long trails and your short trails. The stable is always what I showed earlier, and we're going to talk about those stable entries as well. You can set your profit target to any amount you want. I like to get it out away from my trading, and then I move it back where it needs to be. Or you can use scale out options, and you can put your position. This is defaulted like a ES contract, just 1 contract. You set that for stocks, 100 shares, 50 shares, whatever you're doing. What your profit target to take off that first scale is. You can do scale 2 and scale 3. You do not have to use all of them. You don't have to use any of them. But if you want to set yours up that I want to scale out half my position at a certain amount, or a third off, and then another third, and then trail the rest and not use the last third, you can do that. Any way you want to set this up. And then you can also have the option, you've got your hard stop, or you've got your stop that you chose up here. But you can also have the option to say, when my first scale out is reached, I want to start trailing at scale number 1. So you can select to use that or not use it. It'll leave your hard stop on, or your original stop if you chose the other method. But you can enable this when you're in the scale mode. It will switch to a trailing scale or trailing stop after the first scale. Now, you can also, I'm going to apply just so I can get this button trader on this chart. You can also go to your templates and load your saved settings. I have a 25 chart trader stocks. I also have a 25 scale out. Now we're going to start with the trader, but you can set your settings. I'm going to load this so you can look at it. I've loaded it up, and what it has brought in is the settings I had for the scale out. And you can see I have a current bar trail is what I use, 6 ticks below the current or above the current bar. It's low. These are all addressed to the low or high of the stock of the candlesticks. The 2 bar trail, I'm 2 bars back, 6 ticks off that level. I call it the 2 bar trail. And I have a 3 bar trail, and I have the settings on it, and then my entry orders, the way they're set up. My profit target set for 300, but I'm not using the profit target. Even though it's checked, the scale is going to override that. I have it selected to scale 100 shares at 35 cents, 100 more at 80 cents, and then I'm set to scale. And if I want to go with my hard stop, which I do have selected, it's a 40-cent hard stop. I'm on a 25-tick chart. Now, that's the scale method. When we will demonstrate that, we're going to go back and load our 25 chart trader stocks without the scale. And now you can see the scales are not checked. I have the settings in there the same as the other, but they're not implemented because I switched to the other method. Now I have the time set between the regular trading hours. You'd have to have something different on the ES or your other futures contracts or gold and so forth. And then I have my stop at 2 bars back, 1 tick below. That's a penny below the low. Some people like to use 4 or 5 cents below the low if it goes back and makes a low. The name of my button is stop. I have a current trail button. We looked at this a few minutes ago. I didn't change any of my settings. So this is the one we're going to demonstrate first. So there's no scales on here. The profit target is enabled. If you didn't have a profit target enabled, it's only going to come out with your stop and your entry. No profit target whatsoever. No. If you didn't want to be scaling, this is the method you'd use and just turn off the profit target. It's an OCO order. We're going to apply this, and then we're going to start moving these buttons or candles around. Now, if you're watching this video on YouTube, which I'm sure you are, you can subscribe to our channel and stay up to date on the videos we put out and access our playlist where we break down these. We have many videos. This is actually one that's used on our products page in our Trader Members website. We have a website called tradermembers.com that you have to be logged in to get to some of the areas, but with a products section, you can see all the chart templates. You can see futures chart templates, and this is where we put these tutoring references on all the different charts, what they do, how they're set up, and what goes on there. Some of the videos are over on the website in the features page of activetradersetups.com or daytradersetups.com, but you're welcome to visit the tradermembers.com website and go to products. The menus that are login only, the menus are not there when you're on the website as a guest, but the products are. So check that out, and you find a lot of videos about a lot of our charts that explain our inflection point charts and so forth. Okay, I've reversed our candles, and I'll be pausing this along as these candles form, and then when we start implementing the chart trader, I'll be showing you how the bars actually work, and we won't spend time waiting on the bars to go down because it takes quite some time in the simulated mode. But you're going to see this bar here is going to turn over and start back down, as well as this bigger bar, and I'm going to show you where they're going to end up at. If we go all the way back to this bar, of course, we're going to be way down here. That would not be a likely pullback. A likely pullback is actually pulling back into this area because this cloud was trying to go positive. So I'm going to let it pull back there, and then we're going to set up a trade off that line. While it is pulling back, I can demonstrate some of the buttons that are not going to implement. The stop button loads your 2-bar trail and your 3-bar trail, and the same over here. Be your stop, a current trail, and a 2-bar trail, and we will be showing you how you can work between those buttons at one time. And then your long trail, we've got this set 3 bars back, and you can see that's 3 bars from where we are now, plus a penny or two, whatever I've got programmed in here. It sets that price. As the price continues to move down, the trailing bar is following it with the price. Any reversal back 3 bars is going to take this long. Now we have a long over here on this other chart as well. You can see it's way up here at 1705, where this one's at 1648. Now I've kind of slowed down the falling process here because I am going to reverse it. Now, you could take this trade. This is using multiple bars, one of the things we teach. If you want to take it quick, you can enter it on this bar. If it enters on this bar, when it gets up to here, it's not going to enter you again, even if you forget to turn this off. It knows you have a position, and it will only put you in one position. That's if you want to enter early, you love the setup. Now, what you don't want to do is use this bar as your stop. If you do, this is a lot smaller bar. It's more than likely going to give some little movements like this, maybe back down, maybe not quite all the way down that far, and then go back up, and it'll end up stopping you out. So if you use a hard stop, then that would be okay. Or you can use the standard 2-bar trail, which is going to put you down on the bottom of where the reversal takes place. The probability of staying in the trade is much better if you do it that way. And what it takes to reverse a bar, regardless of the bar size, it will go up and take out the high of 2 bars back. This counts as bar number 1, so that's a 3-bar trail. Same thing here. I don't want to go down any further, but I am going to reverse it. I'm going to let this bar take us long, and I'm going to use this for a stop. Now, if you accidentally have your stop on both sides, it will send in 2 stops and 2 target orders. You'll notice very quickly that you have 2, and you'll have to close one out pretty quickly. And make sure you uncheck the bar button first, because if you do not, then it will just instantly send another stop back out. But it will not put you into 2 trades. So I'm going to turn it back around in a quick momentum. And it should start reversing here in a moment. This is going to take us long, and then this is going to be our 2-bar trail, so it's going to be back down here. Now, if you had your hard stop on, you would actually have a hard stop that wouldn't move like the 2-bar trail. It just sent our order in, and you can see it did it when it got to this level, and it sent a stop over. The stop came off of this chart, and I'm going to change this to currency. We're right below 2 bars back, 6 cents below is where we had this set at. And I'm going to let this run on up and show you how you can adjust these bars, the stops and so forth. Okay, we're continuing on up, and I want to let this break out here where I can start moving these stops up on this side over here. If we were over here, I could show you as well, but I want to show you on this bigger chart. We're going to zoom in a little bit more as well. If I wanted to move this stop now manually, I can. It just moved itself, though. That's the first thing I wanted you to see. It's on a 2-bar trail, so it was down below the low of this bar. Now that this bar has opened, the 2-bar trail is now moved up just to the low of this bar, less a few cents that we have programmed in the button. Now, if I wanted to tighten this up even tighter, I can take this stop on either chart, slide it up, and release it. It will stay there. It will resume its 2-bar trail at the point in time it makes another bar up. Right now we're above, we'll move a little bit more. So we're right below this white line. So what will happen is when it creates the next bar, our 2-bar trail is still back here. It won't move it yet. It'll continue to go up, and then we can go up here. We have our profit target as well. In a lot of programs, you move a profit target, it moves it back to where the original settings were, which we had set at $3, I believe. And now I want to move this down. I'll say, okay, this orange line 118 may be an issue, so I want to get out at 117.86. So now it's dropped my exit plan down, and it's continuing on up. Now it's switched over to the 2-bar trail again. Now, if you want to switch this to a current bar trail, it's just as simple as pressing the button. It moves it for you. It overrides the other button and moves it up to the 1-bar trail. If I want to slide this up even tighter now, I can, and until it resumes current trail bar, it stays where it is. The next bar up, it'll bump itself up some more. If you're in a scale out mode, the default trail, because you told it to trail at scale 1, is the lower bar. Whatever your settings are, when it's automatically going to trail, this is where it's going to trail unless you manually told it something different. Now we're continuing on up here, and I'm going to show you the next thing you can do. You can switch this to a stop and now take this up and place it there, and it'll stay there. You may have to turn these back off. I don't think so. I believe you do have to turn them off. We're going to find out in just a second. I've actually forgotten. I don't do this part very often. When I generally go into a hard stop and I don't want it to move, it's when I'm in a congested area. And if that wick comes in here, I don't want to get stopped out. I know I got a strong setup. I will go in and switch it to a stop, but I usually manually just turn them off. And you can turn them off if you want to, and it'll just stay wherever that stop was, and you can move it. You can move it back down here if you want to. It'll stay. You can get it even tighter. A lot of times when I'm coming into my exit area, I want to slide up really tight, because if it makes a sudden reversal, I just want to be retaining as much profit as possible. So you can see how I tighten that up, and since I have it set on stop, it'll stay there. Even if you're on a trailing bar and you move it up, it will stay where you put it until the trailing bar comes up above the area that it would need to start recalculating. Now, we just went long again. We went long again because I wanted to demonstrate something to you that you do have to pay attention to. Now, we went long, remember, over here off this bar. And I told you it would not take you long again when it reached the level here where we had the long order at that time. We went in early off of this bar, and it didn't. We maintained our regular position. We didn't pick up an additional position. But what we did not do, if you will pause this video and back it up about 20 seconds, you will see that this bar was still on the entire time we were running this up through here. This long order was still activated. Wouldn't let us go long again because we already had a position. But when we closed our position out by reaching our target, or if we had closed it manually, it immediately qualified for what the long trail was, and it took us instantly long again. So you do have to be aware to not have it if you got two going at one time like we did, which generally you will not, I just wanted to demonstrate to you that it wouldn't take you long a second portion of another, create another position for you or increase your position. But I wanted to demonstrate what can happen there. Now I'm going to go ahead and let this go on, and I'm going to move my stops up and tighten them up, and I want to show you some other bar formations. So I'm going to have this start coming back. I'm going to tighten up the stop so that it's going to stop us out pretty quickly. We'll get it even tighter so that you can see it'll cancel the profit target that it sent out and close out the position. And then I'm going to send it right back up because I want you to look at what's going on with the candles. Here's another part of the demonstration. It's still a few cents from the stop. I've got it moving in slow motion because I don't want it to create a reversal bar. I moved the profit target down just so you can see that it stays where you put it, and you can see our stop has stayed where we moved it to, even though it has override in the program to have a different stop. Once you move it, it'll stay. Now we should stop out here in just a couple of cents, and I'm going to send it right back up again. Okay, we're still slowly falling. I'm going to let it fall down while we're paused on the recording. Now you can see this bar started to turn red. It started out just like these other bars. When it created this bar, it had a large green body, and as it progressed back. Now to make a reversal bar, if you had the short trail on, would be taking the low of the second bar back out within a penny or two. Actually triggers the close of the big wick doji and the creation of the red bar that looks like this one with the no wick out the top. That's what happens immediately. So if you went to short trail, it's going to put your order down here below that area because we've got it set to take that bar out less a few more cents before it takes us long. We can turn it right back off again. Now if you turn it on and you went to stable, the red line disappears, but the stable is an extra bar down. So wherever you were here is going to be less about 12 cents. If you're on a dime bar, it's going to be less about 5 or 6 cents. I want it to go back up because I wanted to show you what's going on over here, or what can go on. Look at this reversal here. When this bar formed, it was right at the bottom of this bar. The low of this bar, I'm looking in the data box over here. The low of this bar is 116.44. The low of this wick is 116.44. So within a penny when it got here, that closed this bar and opened this bar. So the open of this bar was right here at 116.44, not up here at 116.65, even though that shows that to be the open in your data box. That is not the open. The open was the wick of the previous bar. But we know we have to take out this bar to create this one. So now that we're going back up, I can show you what a stable long is as it continues to work its way up. I'm going to set it for a current bar trail. We'll turn off the stop, and I'm going not just long, but stable long. A stable long requires that the prior bar not have a wick on it. So I'm going to let that speed up that process, and I'm going to continue to talk about right here what's going on. When this was going down, If you had your stop current bar, the high of this bar was 166.65. This wick was 166.64. So if we had our 2-bar trail running and we have it set to the actual high plus about 3 cents, it would not have stopped us out with that wick. If you want to stay in a trade until it completely reverses, then you would have it on a 2-bar trail. Now, this will not take us long here because it's waiting on a stable bar. This is a stable bar because it has no wick out the bottom. As soon as this bar closes and the next bar opens, we will be long again because we chose to go stable long this time. It's very near triggering. Now, where might you want to use the stable long? And see, as soon as that bar opened, we're long. We have an exit order up here, and I can slide this down wherever I want it. Again, I'm going to let it continue on for a moment. And where you would use a stable bar would be where I had showed you on ALXN earlier, where it had about 5 or 6 wiki bars in it. Or you stopped out here or even exited your profit target into this orange line expecting a possible pullback, and you were going to go long again, and it didn't pull back very far. You didn't want to get back in here, so you chose to go stable long on this chart, and it waited an extra bar to put you back in the trade. Now notice, we don't have a long button activated anymore. The only reason we had the long button activated earlier, remember we took the trade off this side using this long bar, and since this one was on and didn't get triggered, it just stayed enabled. But had, in this case, when we did go long, since we had no other chart trader enabled, this was what actually took us long. It turned itself off. So if you don't have 2 on at one time, you're not going to end up in that accidental trade. Now, I've got it on the current trail. I'm going to reverse it so it can stop itself out on the trail. And that pretty much teaches you about the regular long entry and the stable long entry, and the short works the same way. I'm going to show you the scale out in the last part of the video, and that'll conclude the functionality of how this works. I'm also going to go ahead and show you, while we're waiting on it to pull back, if I set this to a short trail, it's going to put an order on the chart. As it ticks down here, it will create that order. I'll let this run up a little more, tighten up the stop again, and I have a short trail running behind this stop. So maybe we've ran into a inflection point, an old high even. It doesn't have to be one of these inflection points, could be an old high or old low on a chart. We're expecting a reversal and say, hey, I want to not only want to stop out, I want to go short. You can go ahead and turn that on, and when it reverses, it's going to stop us out if it goes far enough down to hit this order and actually form a reversal bar. It'll take a short. So all that'll work together as it comes down here, and then we're going to switch over to the scale out orders. Still 10 cents away from stopping us out. So now we're going to stop out, and we have our order here, and you can see our order is placed below this bar. The low of this bar is 118.18. We're at 12 because we have our program at 2-bar trails, a 3-bar trail actually, 1, 2, 3, and 6 cents below is the offset, and that's why it's 6 cents below that low. 18 is the low, 12 is the order. I'm going to let it go ahead and trigger this order. Now, if it were to turn suddenly here and head back up, there would be no trade. Now it took us short. We have a current trail stop instead of a 2-bar trail. So it put the trail up here again above the bar high, which is 41. It's got the stop at 48. It set at 6 cents. And we're going to review those settings as we switch it over to the scale. And I'm just going to go ahead and close this out. A lot of systems, if you're using a trail and a target in a strategy, even with NinjaTrader, if you're in a strategy and you have it programmed in to do the things we're doing and you manually stop it out, the strategy doesn't know you do not have a position. And those stops and trails get all mangled up and really messes up the entire workings of that strategy. The way we basically took all the things we didn't like about using a strategy and applied them to our bar chart trader to overcome all the shortcomings of trading with a strategy. Now I can close this trade out. Everything cancels. Now we're going to switch over to the scale out mode. I've turned the data back around, so we'll be making a reversal here to demonstrate the scale out mode. I'm going down to the chart trader, and I'm going to, this chart message, I'm going to turn it off so it's not on the screen in our way. And you can see those words I had just went away. The chart trader is these settings we were discussing a minute ago. You can see it was set on a 2-bar trail with a 6-tick offset. So it's going to be above the bar plus 6 cents, the high. If it's in the other direction, it's going to be below the low, 6 ticks or 6 cents. If you're using ES, of course, you adjust this to ticks accordingly. And the same thing on the trailing long. It's a 3-bar trail, but it's offset by 6 ticks. The actual reversal bar will form just about at 0 or 1 tick. So you could adjust that if you wanted to get in quicker. On stocks, I like it to be several ticks. Of course, on ES or your other futures, you will not want to give it that much room. You will want to be in when the reversal takes place. So it would be like plus 2 ticks. Now we're going to switch this to, I'm going to slow down this process right here because it's about to switch over and go ahead and get this loaded back up on the scale. While that pulls back, it's going to make a wick in there. We're going to just go straight to our chart trader and we're going to load our scale out version. We're going to leave it on a hard stop. We're going to leave it on a scale at a switch to trail at scale 1. And we're set for 100 shares at 35 cents, 200, the next 100 at 80 cents, and then we're not set at all on scale number 3. We're going to do 300 shares. Now, if you had this set just like I have it, and you only bought 100 shares, it will send a scale out order for 100 shares. It will not send it for 200 shares. And that basically will become your profit target. You can move it, but it will not send scale orders for more shares than you own. It's another safety mechanism we built in. I'll demonstrate that in just a moment. And remember our trail, when we're using this trail, it's automatically, the profit target will not exist because we're in a scale out, so it overrides that. Doesn't matter if it's checked or not. And the scale order that we've told it to acquire at scale out 1 is the lower button setting. That is always what it will acquire. I believe everything else is where I want it at, so I'm going to apply that. Hit OK. And now I'm going to reverse this bar back up, and then I'm going to pause the video while it does its reversing. And we're going to apply our order. Now see, we've got a wicket try. See, it tried to reverse one time already. So you're sitting here watching this trade. You say, well, it wanted to reverse off these areas, but now it's going back down again. I don't know what it's going to do. I don't want to get short. I see some other things on some other charts, some other levels that I believe it might try to hold here. It could even be a daily level that it's trying to hold. This is actually a level that could be held. When we go over to the daily, when you got a cloud, and this is the same cloud here, and you're pulling back into the white line, this is associated with the cloud. You'll learn about it. It can hold that area, especially on a bigger cloud. This is a fast-paced cloud for day trading, but on the bigger support resistance cloud, something's in an uptrend. That's a very common place it pulls back to. We're going to go ahead and say, okay, we want to do a long trail, and we're going to do our stop. And it's going to, there's our order on the chart at 118.24. Now, I'm going to go ahead and trust that you believe that it's going to take us long at 118.24, and I'm going to demonstrate to you that I can get in early. I can just say buy market, and I'm going to buy the 100 because I want to go ahead and do the 300. We are going to do a demonstration with the 100. I'm going to go ahead and buy, take my position. So I just took my position of 300 shares. Now, it's not going to take us long again when we get to this 118.24. We already have a position. But what do we have to worry about? We still got this button on down here. Since it didn't trigger the long, it's not off. We've got to turn it off, but we're going to let it go past the 18.24. You can see it just did, and it did not create another 300 share position. So I wanted you to see that, but we've got to turn this off, because if we don't, when we get our position exited, unless it's on a pullback, it will trigger another long. So earlier we hit a target, and I'm going to move this just so you can see it can be moved, and it will stay. It won't adjust itself back down. And a strategy, if you do what I just did, and it has a scale out in it, and you move it up 15 cents because you want to get close to an inflection point and squeeze a little more out of your trade, it'll move itself back. Our chart trader will not do that. It'll keep that right where you put it. So we're going to let it continue on up and take that out. And I want you to watch this stop is going to switch to a trail. We're going to have a 200 share stop at that time. We're still going to have this scale out order, and this is going to shift itself into a trailing stop. And we're almost there. We're 4 cents away. Now, you see that stop move up very fast. Now it's in the trail, and it switched itself to the 2-bar trail. Now it's going on up to the next level. And if we saw this old high over here, again, if you try to adjust this down in a strategy that's placed this order, it'll move your exit order back up there. We're going to say, hey, I want to get down here. I'm scared it might hit that old high and decide to reverse, and I want to get out 3 or 4 cents before that high. Because if it does pull back, I want to keep my profit. Now, you see your scale move up there a little tighter. Now, I'm going to switch this manually to a current bar trail. Now, we got 100 shares left. We got a trailing stop, and we got no exit orders up here, so it's all about the trail. I can switch this. One, if I didn't want to move my stop, I can say stop, turn off the trail, and this stop will not move. It will stay there. I've gone back to a hard stop. We're going to let it go up a couple more bars where you can see that it don't move. And then if I want to go back to the current trail, I can flip current trail, moves it up. If I turn it off, it'll stay there. It will not move again. So this is a really quick way to adjust your stops manually, even if you don't want a trail. If you've been moving your stops manually and you want to do it very quickly, hit the current bar, it moves it, turn the current bar back off. It'll keep it there again for you. So that's another big plus in the way this works and how you can move your stops around. Now, I'm going to put it back on trail. I'm going to reverse it so it's going to take us out, or it would take us out. But I'm also going to show you before it does that you can just actually exit this at any time you wish to. I'm just going to say sell market, and we're going to be out. And now you see what happened. We did sell our 100 shares, but now we're short 200 more. Why is that? Well, that's because the Ninja Trader is set to 300 shares is what we took. We took 300, remember? You got to remember to change your order quantity if you're wanting to liquidate the rest of your position. I'm going to close this out now. It's still set to 300, so I didn't close a minute ago. I pressed sell. Now I'm going to close, and they're all gone. The close part works fine. The issue was, and this is a demonstration of being careful, is we said sell market, and the Ninja Trader was still set to the 300 shares we had in the beginning. You have to change that to represent what you want to sell. Now I'm going to put it on 100 shares, and I'm going to reverse it. It's already reversed, and I want you to see, even though we have our scale out set for 100 shares at X amount of dollars, another 100 shares, remember we had two scale outs, 100 shares each. If we don't take a position that is that high, it's only going to send in one scale out order. Remember, this video is part of the Active Trader Setups Tutoring and Reference series that's all about the Active Trader Setups trading package. And you can look under our features and learn more about the package at activetradersetups.com. And then most of the reference series is over at tradermembers.com. You can go to the products page. It's open to the public as a guest, and you can look at the tutoring and reference series on all the charts and the indicators. There's links on this website that are for our clients to be able to quickly find what they need to find out about a particular chart template or something they're having trouble with or don't understand. There's educational videos about each of those charts. And the futures are there too, as well as the indicators. Thanks for watching our video again. And be sure to subscribe to our channel while you're here to keep up with our latest video releases.